Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when this video finds you. This is our fourth video, and as always, let's start with a reminder of why we're doing this. So this is our chapter, Ecology. Work with what you got. Use everything to your ability to survive. Use everything you have available in your environment to do the best you can and be as happy as you can. But we do have some problems here. We have problem number one: how does our environment influence survival? And we've started learning about limiting variables, and we're going to continue to cover range of tolerance and this idea of succession, because it is a part of our environment and influences survival for each species and individual. And then we have this HEL, the hell, and climate change, which we've all heard of, and we will continue to study and learn more about as it influences potentially the survival of species, including humans. And then problem number two, it's what do we need to know about our environment? So what are the things we need to know as species in our environment from the city of Burbank and beyond? And of course, we're going to continue with the Ecolicious experiment so we can learn more about this problem in the chapter. And we're going to continue with climate change discussions, as it may be something very important to Burbank or beyond as far as the environment is concerned. All right, let's move on to slide 16. All right, this is slide 16. In your notebook for slide 16, please write slide 16, and then this definition in the pink box. It says, an environmental change can create limiting variables that aren't within a species' range of tolerance. So this sentence uses two of our new vocabulary. It says, if the environment changes, it can create limiting variables that aren't within a species' range of tolerance. Let's do a quick review of vocab from earlier slides just to make sure we can make sense of this sentence. Limiting variables are any variables that can cause a survival issue. So this is saying if the environment changes, there could be survival issues. So something in the environment, some variable in the environment could be limiting survival. And if we're limiting survival for anything, whether it's a plant or a human, it's outside their range of tolerance. So if species have individuals dying, whether it's humans or plants or whatever, it's outside their range of tolerance. They can't tolerate whatever the limiting variable is. So if the limiting variable is killing you, well, you're outside of your range of tolerance. You can't tolerate that limiting variable. It's too much, and you're going to die. Or your species population will drop. If we're talking about humans, that's it could be a major die-off. If we're talking about another species, maybe extinction, which is also another threat. All right, now that you have this, hopefully you paused it and you've written down the definition. Your job is to study example A here, which has a sequence of 3 pictures. This is a model showing a change to an environment. And we have a change to the environment in B. It used to look like this. Now it looks like this. It says interpret scenario A and B. So we need to look at picture A. What is shrinking based on the artist's drawing or this model? From the beginning here, there was more of it, and then it's less and less. And we're also increasing the amount of this. So what are we getting more of in the environment, and what are we losing in the environment over time? This is what it used to be, and now this is what it looks like now. So the top is the beginning, earlier, and the bottom is the end, last. What environmental change occurs in each scenario? So use this sentence starter if you want, that's in red. It says blank is happening in A, and B has blank change. So what's happening in A? What is there less of in the environment, or what is there more of? So they're losing an abiotic variable. Decide what that is. Or you can say they're increasing the biotic variable of what? What are these green things here that we're getting more and more of, okay? And then in B, you can see that there were living organisms in B, and now it looks lifeless. It may not be lifeless, that's just a hypothesis, but you need to say what you think is happening in B. And the idea is if you read this, it says there's ash here. So if there's ash now on the ground and everything looks darker, what kind of change do you think occurred here? Now it says draw connection. Explain how both scenarios produce common challenges. And you can use this sentence starter if you want. It says both A and B have blank in common. So you need to look at picture A and picture B and what's something that they have in common. Anything. And then whatever you choose, whatever they have in common, it says this, you have to decide if you're using the sentence starter. It says this will or will not, you choose, be a limiting variable because blank. So if you choose something that's negative that they have in common, or something that the environment's losing, and you put it here, it means that you're going to be talking about something that will be a limiting variable. If you're talking about something positive in the environment that they have in common, you'd say that this will not be a limiting variable because. So if it's negative, it will be a limiting variable because, well, limiting variables threaten survival, right? And if you say it will not be a limiting variable, it's because you think it's something that is not harming survival, not making it hard to live. And they are within their range of tolerance. Lastly, it says, how will each experience new limiting variables? How does A have a limiting variable? What is limited in the environment? What is it losing in the environment? What is this? That's A's new limiting variable. And you would write A's new limiting variable equals blank. And then in B, what do they have less of in B? Yes, so basically, if you're going to use these sentence starters for B, you write B's new limiting variable equals. What do they have less of in this environment that they used to have? You have to decide what's a limiting variable or something that's now missing that will harm survival or make it difficult. And that's your limiting variable. All right, moving on to slide 17. Let's see what we have. This is the San Fernando Valley. This is our local environment. Now, you may or may not live in the city border of Burbank. Maybe you live in Toluca Lake. Maybe you live all the way in Pacoima and you transfer in. Maybe Glendale border. It's hard to tell the difference really between these neighborhoods. But this is where we live. You can see Burbank has many people in its population. We have over 107,000 people as of 2007. Now, 2007 is a long time ago, so the potential for Burbank's population to be higher is likely. Class sizes at our schools are increasing, and we know we have more and more students each year trying to transfer into Burbank High School. So the chances of Burbank's population being even more are there. But in general, we live in this huge area, and we're right next to downtown LA and Hollywood and Pasadena. These are huge urban areas, big cities. This is our home. This is our environment. Within here are little pockets of nature where other organisms live, and that's their environment too. And then you have all the mountains around us, Griffith Park, or other mountain ranges, the Verdugo Mountains and Hills. All these places also have lots of life. Let's think about this. Slide 18 has you doing a task. It says, think about where we live. Think about your life, think about your school, your neighborhood, or Burbank. And think about any kind of changes, 4 changes in fact, that are going on in the city or in your life or at the school that affects your daily life. It doesn't have to be a big effect on you, just something you've noticed, anything you've noticed. It could be abiotic things, which is the non-living changes in your environment, or biotic things, maybe living things around you you don't see as much, or new people you know, or maybe new neighbors, or maybe you saw a new organism, species in your neighborhood or your home. Maybe you even saw a cricket in your home or something, right? Any kind of changes you're noticing in your house or your neighborhood, the school, Burbank. 4 changes. So you take half a page and you write slide 18 in your notebook. So slide 18 in your notes. And then you're going to take half a page to create this exact brainstorm web. This brainstorm web is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you'd write slide 18 in your notebook. You'd create this brainstorm web of environmental changes. And then you would list 4 ideas, 4 things, 4 types of changes based on this example. All right, so I'm always at the malls. In any town, I go to the malls, take my baby, just as she likes malls. So this is a change I've noticed. There's new stores at the mall. And that would be abiotic, right? The building itself, the space. So New stores at mall, which could lead to a biotic change, which would be more people, new people that I've never seen or shopping in that area. So it brings new people, brings money, changes the economy, right? So new stores at mall, that was one example I came up with. You come up with 3 other changes in your neighborhood that affect your daily life. We are saving these last 3 brainstorm spots for your teammates to give you an idea of theirs. So you would write their name and their idea here. So we'll do that in class for fun, just so we can share ideas and brainstorm together. All right, in your notebook, now add slide 21, and I'll help you do that. Now we're going to watch a quick video, and then I want you to decide if you would choose option 1 or 2. Would you stay in this area and rebuild, or would you leave and start again in a new habitat or environment? So something happened to a neighborhood, and I want you to decide, would you stay and rebuild in that environment, or would you leave and start again? So option 1 or 2. So here's the video. This is an area flooded and destroyed, damaged by a hurricane. This was Louisiana. This was New Orleans. This happened pretty recently. Now, within the past 10 years, you can see the damage. People claim. So this hurricane destroyed homes. People died. And the city itself, at the time of this video, and this video's old now, but within the past 10, 15 years, this happened to this area. And the question is, would you stay and rebuild after all this destruction, or would you move to a new area, a new environment to live? Now, this was a change to the environment, right? So we're looking at environmental change. So what happens when the environment changes? Here's some more footage of that environmental change. You can see the town is kind of abandoned. Street lights are destroyed. Signs. Electricity may not even flow. You can see some of the homes themselves are demolished and fallen apart. This area has a lot of homes that have been abandoned. You can see they're kind of destroyed. Now, some people have stayed. The question is, would you? So in your notebook for slide 21. All right, so based on what you just saw in the video, you should say, and here's a little sentence frame, you said, I would. Would you stay and rebuild? Or would you leave and start again in a new environment? So I would stay or I would leave because, and give 2 reasons why you would stay, or give 2 reasons why you would leave and move to a new environment where there's less limiting variables, where you can live within your range of tolerance. Or would you stay because you can remove the limiting variables and start a life there again and rebuild? So you have to have reasons, right? Good luck. All right, this is slide 22. And in slide 22, there's this word. It says forms of succession. Succession means a change to the environment. Since we've been talking about changes to the environment, since we're saying anytime the environment changes, it can create limiting variables, or it can create an environment that's outside your range of tolerance, where you can't handle the changes, right? And you got to leave, or it's hard to survive, right? Now, primary succession is a special type of change. Remember, succession just means changing to the environment, right? An environmental change. Primary succession is the colonization of a new environment. Colonization. That means living in a place or surviving in a place no one has survived before. It also means where new life forms where it had never been. A great example is this picture. You can see there's no life, no living things. It's just rocks. And over time, living things are now growing and surviving there. That is primary succession. This also could happen on an island. If a volcano erupts, we have new islands and new land where new living things are. But I want you to think about this movie, The Martian. If you've never seen The Martian, it's about Matt Damon as an actor. His character is an astronaut, and he has a mission on Mars. And he's living and surviving there where no one had lived there before. In the movie, there's no life on Mars. It's very difficult to survive, yet he does. If you've seen the movie, fantastic. It's a nice science-based film. It makes science look awesome. What I want you to decide is that this example of primary succession is inspirational because blank. What could be inspirational about this astronaut surviving on Mars? All right, that wraps up this video. Have a good night.